Test one, two, test. What up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Jazzy Talk. A brand new episode, but we have with us again FlannelJack, who has so graciously uh, volunteered to come on the show to talk about a really busy month of offline ranking events. I mean, when I was looking over the schedule and preparing a lot of the assets for social media, I was like, wow, there are a lot of ranking events in March. And then we also have two more Jazzy online events in March too. And so I definitely need your help, GK, to sort all this out. But yeah, just welcome to the show again. And, just wanted to kind of start by getting your thoughts so far on the season. Someone who is both competing and organizing for events. And so maybe we could start on the organizing side. And so so far, what are your thoughts on season 5 and how your scene has been, approaching this year's Jazzy tournament series?
I'm already asleep by the time they're airing. So as soon as I wake up in the morning, the first thing I look up is the Jazzy Talk from the previous night, and that's what gets me through the day often. So I'm really, really thankful to be back here on the show and talk about this amazing season so far. I think season 5 is the most active and a lot of the maybe the most exciting season yet, as far as like the possibilities of who's going to qualify. I feel like there's some certainties, but there's also a lot of mystery. So yeah, I'd love to talk about it. With regards to TOing, what would you like to know about?
Oh yeah, just what your thoughts are on the events. You, you've been holding it down for North Carolina, but I noticed a lot of the other Southeast states are getting into the party here. And so, yeah, tell me a little bit about how that's been as far as, obviously you built something really strong in North Carolina, and now you're starting to see some of the other states in the Southeast, and then we're going to talk about Max Mode later on the show. But yeah, like, what are your thoughts on just kind of the rise of the Southeast as far as
Yeah.
Counter Strike goes?
So I think I've alluded to this before, either on this podcast or maybe on the Southeast Throwdown series, where essentially, before COVID, I had my hand in trying to grow a lot of the Southeast scenes, right? I would work with Southwest Virginia, like Star Powered Gaming out there. I would work with the ATL Data Boys. I would work with the South Carolina Anderson guys, and like it was like all really really exciting um, until COVID shut everything down, right? And so then I kind of retreated and focused only on North Carolina. But in me doing that, you know, Jazzy happened, Jazzy season 2 happened, Jazzy season 3 happened. And then by the time Jazzy season 4 took place, especially during the whole grown man era we had over here in North Carolina, South Carolina and Georgia would come up. And it was around that time that there was that kind of that new wave of players coming out of Atlanta, out of 404 Esports, headed up by Roshi, as well as the data guys who still were around doing their thing. And then South Carolina guys started to get more excited, right? So you have Durkin and the guys over in upstate, with Top Hat Otter and those guys. But then over in Monk's Corner, Charleston, you had Troy Boy and you had Gaming the Jimbo. And this is prior to Southeast Throwdown. It was like just before they had started it. And so while Jazzy was happening in season 4, you kind of had the makings of what it is now, right? The North Carolina players would travel to South Carolina, Anderson, because it's much closer than the Charleston area. And then there wasn't any events in Atlanta last year, but I think Bird Kicks and I went out to Tennessee. And then I'm not sure if there were any Virginia Jazzy events last season that I went to. But yeah, like there were other southern scenes kind of gaining traction, gaining ground. And then the season 4 happened, and then season 5 kicked off. And at this time, Southeast Throwdown is already a thing, right? They've already been around for about 3/4 of the year. And so they're doing a lot to galvanize particularly in my sabbatical, right? So I helped kind of launch Southeast Throwdown in the beginning, and I was there for maybe the first 6 months, I think, something like that. I forget exactly the timeline. But then after Jazzy finale, I took a break. But Jimbo and Troy and Boa and Boogaloo Boy, they kept going, kind of, you know, building the fire for the Southeast. And then when I came back in January, or November into January, as Jazzy was starting to come back, the groundwork still looked kind of bare. It was very North Carolina heavy, right? If you look at the first month of Jazzy, we had Durham, we had Greensboro, and we had Charlotte. And I think there's the one Atlanta tournament, but nothing elsewhere. And then as the months have progressed, South Carolina started doing things, right? So you had the Mongoose Corner crew who had Low Country Revolution last month, and then Harry this month. Atlanta had their January and February monthly, but that was part of a series of monthlies that they had started the year in the end of the previous year. You're gearing up for max mode, right? Their +2 on blocks has been their monthly for years, but they were using their +2 on blocks like for people to earn points to get free entry to max mode. So they were already kicking around with Dirt Track before the start of Jazzy Season 5. And then we find ourselves at the beginning of Jazzy Season 5, where it's this perfect storm of, okay, South Carolina's got something going on, Georgia's got something going on, North Carolina's going on. So I think I told you about that, where you kind of had this like tri-state circuit.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the month changed and we went over to February, Charlotte was no longer happening. So North Carolina now only had 2 events. And I made it very clear in January that any Southeastern event that has Third Strike for Jazzy, I will be there, either to just be a player or to just to provide boards, to provide support, just to be there. Depending on the event happening in the state, I'm involved to certain degrees or to no degree, right? So when I went to Atlanta for their monthly, all I did was provide my HDMI board for them to stream off of, and then I played, right? That was the extent of my assistance to that event, which is barely any. And I'm sure they would be able to do that without me, which they did the following month when I wasn't there. With regards to the South Carolina event, when I went down last month, I just showed up just to, hang out. I always bring my equipment as just to be safe, because you know how it is as a TO, right?
Yeah.
Something always goes wrong.
Yeah.
No matter what. No matter how much equipment you have, something always goes wrong.
Yeah.
So I like to bring my board, I like to bring the cameras, I like to bring extra equipment so that should something happen and we're in a pinch, and that happens all the time with Third Strike, I'm prepared to, provide backup materials to the TOs. So that first month in South Carolina, I went and I didn't really do anything again. Like I provided the stream board, and I played and I hung out with the guys and drank beers. With regards to the Richmond event, I caught wind of it. So I used to be more diligent about checking the Jazzy schedule every day. I still do, maybe every other day, see what events are getting added. But so I'm always paying attention to anything in the Southeast. And like I said, if you have something in the Southeast that I can attend, if it's not conflicting with another event, I'm going to do my best to be there. And when I caught wind of the Richmond guys, they had been coming down to the Durham tournaments for a few months, like, kind of in exchange to, hey guys, we'll show you support, please show us support, kind of in the future thing. And so they had come down to a number of our tournaments, Daddy Smurf, Wee Bob, Sapphire, Nice Guy Nick, those guys out of Richmond are the RVA Dawnstar guys. And so I caught wind of their event, but I saw that it was console. And so at first I was like, do I want to go out there? Do I want to waste my time with that? And then I was like, well, what if I got involved and helped them with their equipment? So therefore it would, make that travel more worth it for me. So I'll go out there, higher potential for points if I bring arcade hardware. But I ultimately didn't, the stream wasn't my stream. I wasn't running the event. I just provided the equipment for them to run the games on. And then I played, right? So I think there might be a misconception that I'm running. Like I saw last week that Katie said that I'm running half the circuit, which flattering, very funny, but not exactly the truth. Like I pretty much do my best to just show up and play. And kind of my theory on it, one is I get to, I think I told you last time, is I'm really interested in just traveling around, and I can't really afford to go to the other scenes as much, like New York, Chicago, Texas. I would love to go out to those events because I feel like, so I'm being challenged in the Southeast, right? I haven't won every event that I've played in, particularly January, I lost more than I won, no matter where I went. But I would love to be challenged by stronger players. But right now, all I can afford and it makes more sense for me to qualify is that just stay in the Southeast, right? Like a lot of times, I want to go to the New York events. One, because I miss New York, I miss home. That's where I grew up. My family's still there. I haven't been back in quite a few years. So I've been, I think I reached out to you. I was like, hey, when the ranking events, when is the auto qual? Because I really miss home. But it's not going to work out. I think, unfortunately. I think I'm gonna be able to go like right before the Jazzy finale. I might drive up to like just go pick up some stuff for my family and see them, and maybe get in some training sessions with the New York guys if possible. Um, but I can't really afford to go all over the country, but I can afford to drive 3 to 4 hours to a neighboring state to play. And like, you're a wrestling fan, so remember what Ric Flair did back in the '70s and the '80s?
Yeah,
Kind of
he
what
would
his
go
struggles were.
to territory and defend the World Heavyweight Championship against the top draw in that scene. So yeah.
Exactly. So that's kind of my theory here as well. I'm not Ric Flair. I'm nowhere near Ric Flair in any regard whatsoever. Outclassed in all kinds of manners. But that kind of the idea or theory that okay, um, I'm aware of my skill level. I'm aware of where I kind of fall in the place of the pantheon of or the range spectrum of American Third Strike. But I'm a more prominent player than most others to a degree. Whether it's because of my play or my TOing or the fact that I'm always posting somewhere. And so why don't I? What I feel like I'm uniquely suited to go into all these scenes around the southeast that aren't as popping, aren't as big, aren't as consistent, and bring attention to them. Play their guys, play their top guys, get them excited about the game, and then move on to the next territory. Right. Um, and so that's kind of it. It's it. I'm not running every event. I assist to a degree, right? Some brackets I seed because again I'm in a unique position that I can see the southeast with fair accuracy and knowledge, either through all the years I've been doing it offline or the southeast throwdown events that we've been running online. So I'm in a unique position where I'm very familiar with most of the players in the southeast, and their relative skill level to each other. So I see the brackets often. Or I'm just applying the equipment and trying to get as many entrants as possible. Like mostly big promoter kind of deal, right? Like, when I make the Southeast graphics, like I'm not making money from any of this. And, the only way that I'm benefiting really is, hey, I bring more attention to the event. I get more players to come out and hang out with me and play, and maybe I can earn more points and make more friends and then move on. And so really my TO efforts are mostly about, or like as far as the real TOing, like worrying about the stream and worrying about um, you know, the minutia of the event. That's really just Greensboro. But when I go to Durham, that's the Oak City Esports guys event. And so again, I bring setups. I consult as far as seating is going. If they need me to run the bracket, I will. But I'm not going there to run it. And I think mostly my big thing is I'm trying to step back from TOing in general, and I know I've been saying that for years. But I feel like I've been mostly successful this year. Where yes, I am doing a lot of promotion. Yes, I'm doing a lot of like traveling and whatnot. But the real nitty gritty TOing responsibilities, I've largely been able to escape since January. The only one that I have to be so nitpicky and headachy about is my own one in Greensboro because I'm really responsible for that.
Hmm.
Um, but other than that, I mostly get to be just a player. And I lend so. But what ends up happening is every event that I go to, people think that I'm the one running it. And that's happened multiple times, even with people at the event. I'm like, hey guys, no, it's not me. I'm just here to hang out and play, and support. So, I mostly what I've been doing is networking, promoting, and quality assurance, making sure that each event is the best possible that it could be, without getting too involved in the weeds. That's
Yeah.
kind of it. What it's been like.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. I think the first thing I wanted to comment on is you were talking about how the Southeast has been ramping up so that when Jazzy started, there was already a lot of that infrastructure in place for these different scenes to start hosting events. And yeah, I think the great takeaway from that is you call it a perfect storm, but Nothing ever rarely happens instantaneously. And so the Southeast was putting in that work and getting better each day until, again, it was their time to shine. And speaking of, their time to shine, I wanted to specifically get your thoughts on Southeast Throwdown. I think Southeast Throwdown is a really cool story. This is like you were saying, this is a project that started online, and then just this past weekend, they ran their very first offline event, which you won. Congratulations on that. Uh, and so, yeah, what are your thoughts on, like, specifically? I know you talked already about Southeast Throwdown, but just viewing them as kind of, Troy and Jimbo and that entire crew. Like, it really is cool to see, like, something that starts online with all this talk about supporting your locals. It's cool to see that, a team going from online and then transitioning into that offline TO space. And so, what were your thoughts specifically on Perry this, which happened last weekend, and just kind of, again, the transition that SCT was able to make from online to offline.
Yeah. Really big love to Jimbo.
Yeah.
So I feel like at different parts of the life cycle of Southeast Throwdown, different people have been a part of it, but the beating heart of it is Jimbo, gaming with Jimbo. He's the core of it. And so Troy was a big part of founding it, and as time has gone on, he's been able to step back more. Boa was a big part of it in the beginning, and then comes in and out as he feels it. I was very, very heavy in the beginning for like providing guidance, providing support, providing vision, and then when Jazzy finale ended, I stepped away until I came back in January. And then when I came back in January, I've been a big part of like again, uh, helping with graphics, commentary, seating, playing, promotion, blah 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 blah. But no matter what, no matter who comes and goes, Jimbo is always there. Um, and so he's the one who's putting in all the money. He's the one who is, communicating with Venko for the online events. He's the one who's, doing everything. And then, in the past, I was Jimbo, right? I would do all the research and development. I would do everything. Then I would kick it to my team. Sneak, Roski, what do you guys think? And then I get my feedback. And so it's kind of now where I'm in the Sneak and Roski position, and Jimbo is the FlannelJack. He's okay. Here are all my ideas. Here's all my passion. What do you guys think? And then Boa and I and Troy, we all give advice. Boogaloo Boy, we give advice, and then Jimbo runs with it, right? And so the online efforts, even when Jimbo stepped back, were still going. And now I think it's stronger than ever, particularly with Jazzy happening. I don't really, anyone who knows me, I don't really care to engage online. I post what I need to post and then I disappear. And that is the truth with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and largely Discord. But the Southeast Throwdown Discord, I remain active in because it's fun. Everyone cares. Everyone's curious. Everyone wants to get better. It's people from all around the region who all want to play each other all the time. And so I think that Jimbo and Troy and myself to a degree and Boa to a degree, and then various efforts have been able to develop a culture of inclusivity and fun and but also competition and fire. And so I think the online efforts have been great. There was stuff that I wanted to do years ago, but Jimbo was finally able to do it himself. And then to see it progress offline was also really cool. Because we kind of did a soft test run the month before when it was branded under the Low Country Revolution tournament series. But this month around, Jimbo took more control of it, more creative control, more financial control, and really, really produced it as how he wanted it to be, with input from all of us, of course. But it was essentially like Jimbo's baby. And so to see it happen and come to life was really, really cool. We got 16 entrants, which I appreciate that Jazzy has the 8-player barrier, and I think that it is important for inclusivity with regards to getting as many scenes in it as possible. But I think that in order to maintain any sort of competitive integrity, you need to be getting at least 16 players to get, because that's where like most of the teams are getting to kind of get those points. And so we were able to make that, fortunately enough, with everyone at the station and whatnot. And we all had a great time. And I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. We're still talking about what we want this to look like going forward, whether that's monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, biannually, annually. We're still kind of figuring it out. But the proof of concept is there. We have a venue that's amazing, with Retro Revs Arcade. You know, Ravon Butler out of New York now lives in South Carolina, has his arcade there. And, you know, wherever he goes, we'll probably work with him because he has the Versa Cities, which not every scene is lucky to have, right? And then I think that's kind of the things that the Southeast seems to be lucky enough that we have a lot of separate scenes that all have boards. You know, North Carolina has, you know, a plethora and a wealth of boards. South Carolina seems to have boards either in the upstate or in the Moncks Corner region. The, you know, Data, FGC, ATL boys have their boards. And then actually just recently, the Richmond crew just got a cab with a CPS3 board. So it seems to be happening where the Southeast is just like there, right? Like, I feel like for so long, North Carolina was kind of beating the drum of the Southeast. And I think it still is to a degree, right? The best players still reside in North Carolina. The most events happen, the most activity still happens there. But the other scenes aren't far behind. And I'm excited for the next couple years hold. I know Jimbo is not done yet. He has a lot of plans for what he wants it to be, a lot of enthusiasm and passion for it. So, you know, the future is only looking up from here.
That's really cool to see just all of the collective effort that the Southeast has been doing to keep the competitive scene alive. And that brings me to kind of the next thing I want to talk about again is with you as a competitor. You already touched on it as far as, you know, your motivation for this season when you first came onto Jazzy Talk. But I don't know. I mean, it doesn't, like, to me, this you know, the way that Jazzy is structured is a little bit of a OS, right? Like, you know, you can use it, like, and you know, there are certain pockets of scenes around the country that are very strong in Third Strike. And so you could definitely, you know, again, this is not, you know, some might say this is gaming the system or whatever, but not really. Like, basically, you could use the ranking events as a way to get your player from your scene to the finale.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, for instance, a great example of that is Resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, young, up and coming Urian main, and
Mm-hmm.
from Bakersfield, a scene that, you know, not many uh, California Third Strike players, you know, visited last season.
Mm-hmm.
And so, through the efforts of the office run by Anselmo and Insomniac Robot, the Bakersfield team was able to, you know, kind of make Resolve earn it, right? Uh, Run your ranking events, get them to an auto qual, and at the end of the season, what happened? He had enough points to qualify, and he was able to show out at the finale, and, you know, did very well for himself. And so I definitely think the ranking events, there's nothing wrong in, again, using the ranking events or leveraging the ranking events to make sure that your player gets to the finale, that your
Yeah.
player gets to represent your scene. And again, for the people who can travel, go to the Southeast. Yeah. Get those points. Go to Chicago. Go to Texas.
Yeah.
This is again, this idea of the open tournament series. I think you know, I think it can work as long as everyone is on board and he never forgets kind of the singular mission, right? Which is just to get more people to play Third Strike.
Yeah.
And if we
I have
just
a
keep it
couple.
simple, then, you know, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of ideas on that. So, like, I think that the way that, so I want to talk about, you know, kind of ranking events and how they factor now.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to talk about, maybe the perception of the Southeast and how many ranking events that we have and how that might be gaming the system. And so that's two things. Let me see if there's anything else. If there's anything else, I'll get to it. But I want to talk first and foremost about the importance of ranking events this season.
Yeah.
Ranking events this season matter more than any season previously. Because of... So this is inspired by the takes on the DFW podcast, which I'm almost done with all of them. I love the DFW podcast, the Lance and Ray show. And they were talking about, when Jazzy first got revealed, they were talking about kind of their assessment of it and like, what does it mean now? And I think that, they kind of came up with different ideas about like what the ranking events mean and kind of like their place now and the kind of the new meta of qualifying, right? And so because there's two less LCQ spots, that makes the grind more valuable, right? Because instead of all year round, the top players not feeling like they want to go out and play or compete, they can like say, "Fuck it, we'll just go to the LCQ and qualify." Like now, like they can't anymore. There's less spots on it, and then that shifts to online, right? And so the way that online is playing out, like really, you have the whole country playing for one spot now. And then there's the auto quals, which are always going to be difficult to win, right? Their value hasn't changed, but the value of the ranking spots now, the value of grinding, is higher. Whereas in the past, like, North Carolina's always done this. Since we have always followed the exact rules of the Jazzy Circuit. Back in season 2, when it was a 50-mile
radius
cap, yeah, and we followed that rule, right? And it's not different this year. It's 3 separate metropolitan areas. Not different than Houston, not different than Austin, not different than Dallas, right? 3 separate metropolitan areas that are about an hour to hour and a half from each other. We're following those rules. Then, with regards to the other southeastern scenes, they're 3 to 4 hours away, sometimes 5, depending on where you are. So, again, how's that any different than any other scene? And if you look at the top 5 right now in the top leaderboards, it's all the scenes with the most events.
And that's what it's designed to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You reward the grind, right?
Precisely. Texas has the most events and they have the most players. The only way that the Southeast can compete is with that many events. Texas is almost, at least the DFW scene specifically, they can get 33 players easy. Right? And like look at so on the leaderboard right now, it's 2 Southeastern players, 2 DFW players, and a Chicago player. Look at the events of the past 3 months. The majority of the events have been in Texas, so you have the arcade event, you have the free play event, and then you have the major stuff going on. And then they have the other scenes in the state, right? Then if you look at Yogurt Brain, he's been winning everything in the Midwest. Not only in Chicago, which they have 2 events in the month, they also have the Indianapolis event that he won.
And also remember, right? Yogurt Brain, congratulations, Yogurt Brain, traveling out to Akihabara Arcade, the site of the Jazzy finale weekend.
Precisely.
And
so if you look at all 5 of us, we are all the players who have traveled the most. That's it. We are grinding. We're doing exactly what the system. We are going to all the scenes. We're going to all the tournaments. I'm the number 1 because I have entered more tournaments than anybody else in this entire season. Name another player who has entered more tournaments than me this season. There's none. Right? And like all my wins are low value wins. When Lance wins, he wins 600 points at a time. All my wins are what? 400 points here and there, and I haven't even gotten first place most of the time. I've gotten second place once, I got 4th, and then in Charlotte I got 13th, right? So I didn't even get any points for the Charlotte tournament. So I think there's enough room for a lot of different perspectives for how the season can go. I think that the top players are valid. Actually, I'm listening to the new one with Lance and Steelhammer and Yeah. And they were talking about how the top players should At least the past champions should auto qualify in. And
Okay,
I think this really,
can I just like
yeah,
I don't really want to talk about that
oh sure,
because
no problem.
it's just it's not worth talking about. Like
Sure,
it's like this
yeah, yeah,
idea, right? That just
mhm,
because you have won a previous finale, or maybe
mhm,
just because you've qualified, you get to skip certain, steps.
yeah,
Like, the prime example is tennis. It,
mm,
uh, it doesn't matter how many Grand Slam championships you have, you still got to compete in the tournament.
yeah. Well,
And so
I wasn't going
yeah,
to test
but I was
you.
just
Yeah,
saying, like,
yeah,
it's just something that just like I don't even want to I don't even want to I don't know what the word is, but like I don't even want to entertain that idea
sure,
because to me it's just so asinine to me, like as
yeah.
far as like from a competitor standpoint.
I
But I
think,
get you, I get you.
yeah, the point I was trying to make was, I think there's room for all these viewpoints. There's
Yeah.
room. There's there is room in Third Strike for all of our experiences to be happening at the same time and to be valid. So for the ranking experience as it is now, I think it's valid as it is, and it's
Mhm.
rewarding. The system is working exactly as it's intended,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then the experience of the top players I think is also valid, and like I think that we all have our own place in Third Strike, and something I think listening to the DFW podcast because I've all been listening to them. Something that comes up over and over again is that we all have our own stories. Not to be cliche, not to be borrowing too much from WB and Cody finishing his story, but we all have something to prove, and I think there's validity for all of our experiences as we go about trying to experience and play this game in 2024. So the top players who've been playing this game for 25 years, their experience and what they're looking for, what they're looking to achieve, and what they want out of the circuit is valid. But so is the experience of the lower player. Let's say, me as a stand-in for that. My experience is also valid in, what it is that I'm trying to accomplish with the game, and what it is that I still have left to prove and say with the game, right? Um, so I think that what I was trying to ultimately get to is the ranking experience. I think there are a lot of valid criticisms for it right now, but I also think it's working as intended. And we don't really know how it's going to pay off, right? Because the ultimate goal is keep Third Strike alive and keep it growing, right? And I think that the way the Jazzy Circuit is working now, with those goals in mind, I think the ranking experience perfectly caters to the lower level players. But those look at who's in the top, right? It's still Yoga Brain, who's a very, very strong player, one of the better players in the Chicago scene.
Yeah,
He's been in
that's
every,
what I was about to say.
yeah,
GK,
is
like look at,
mhm,
like it's a pretty good spread here.
yeah,
We got a
um,
Chicago player, we got players from Texas, couple players from the Southeast.
hmm,
Obviously, Amir has already qualified, so he's no
hmm,
longer in the running. But we got Resolve with the same number of
yeah,
points, right behind Arliath.
yeah,
Again, I think the parity is fine, but again, like you were saying, the ranking event system is operating as intended.
hmm,
Um, you know, if you have people who are willing to step up and run third strike events, and I don't know, I think the bar for running a Jazzy ranking event is pretty low.
hmm,
And so again, we're just trying to encourage people to play third strike, and so you know it again, for any players who maybe, you know, maybe launching complaints about the ranking event system, maybe there's not enough events in your scene or that scene.
yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry I can't be everywhere. I'm sorry I can't be in every scene drumming up
uh,
events. But like the Southeast
yeah,
has me, right? That's I something I want to talk to you about later on that we're going to broach on is kind of like the position and the kind of status and the perception of the Southeast and like
yeah,
its power and like my goal is to get the Southeast to be like. I often ask the players, who do you think number 4 is in the country? Because we all know who top 3 is, right?
mhm,
But who is number 4? And my goal is to get North Carolina into that spot. And depending who you talk to, they'll say Omaha, they'll say
mhm.
Chicago, they'll say any region. But I want it to be North Carolina. I want it to be the
And that's really
Southeast.
cool. You're giving your scene like just goals, right?
Yeah,
uh Things that you
precisely.
think that you can reach, um during certain periods of time, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying about the ranking event system, you know, reach out to us, join the Discord, check out
Yeah.
jazzycircuit.org. We'll sit down and talk to you if you want to run a Third Strike event. We'll try and help you do that. And at the end of the day, like I said, this isn't like trying to like criticize everyone. Like you said before, everyone has a different story. Everyone has different circumstances. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like a top Third Strike player, told me, a few months ago that, hey, there's value in just getting up and deciding, okay, I'm gonna do this, right?
Yeah.
And it's, again, this is not trying to, cast aspersions on people who don't, but like,
Yeah.
GK, it's just, that's just what it takes. Like the saying on Spooky's shirt is true,
Yeah.
if not me, then who? It's,
Precisely.
it
And I
just, yeah,
think
that's what it takes. That guy,
I think
every scene has to have that guy, right?
yeah. And that's something that with me, like I'm kind of obsessive about this game and I want things to be done right. And so um I'm everywhere. And I wish New York still had that, right? New York is ripe to have 3 or 4 monthlies a month, right? There's fucking 5 boroughs with all these venues. You guys have 3 venues that I can think of off the top of my head, 2 in Brooklyn, 1 in Manhattan, right? Like New York should be having that, but New York's, and this is not to cast aspersions on the New York scene. I love the New York scene. I still consider myself to be part of the New York scene, but like their events are not happening, and I'm sure it's because everyone is busy, everyone has lives, everyone has other shit they want to do and whatnot. But like, if you guys, you can do it. You have the player base. Just run the event. Um, and in chat, Jorge says Florida is dead. Um, maybe, but also maybe not. Right? Like Retro Revival has things going on in Orlando. There's the Miami scene with Arcade Odyssey. There
Well,
just needs to
how
be.
much do you think? So GK,
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off, but like,
No, it's fine.
earlier you were talking about like kind of your thought process as far as going up to the it was the Richmond tournament, right?
Yeah.
Which
hmm
was initially console, and then you thought, hey, if I bring a super gun, then we can do it for arcade points. How much do you think it is like that has attributed to like that mentality? Like, like, again, Third Strike players, let's be fair, we're pretty particular when it
Yeah.
comes to our setups.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also, to be fair to us, I mean, what passable console port has Third Strike really had? People say, oh, OE is great. I will, till the end of time, tell you that OE is trash. I know it might be a hot take for some people, but OE is not the game. At least 30th is the emulated game, but then that
Yeah.
also has a host of problems too. And then we go to PS2,
hmm
which, actually, when we when we talk about Evo, Third Strike had been run on PS2 for most of its Evo history, actually. Um, so like, we've never really had like a good port or whatever, and so now, again, going back to like the earliest days of Evo, again, I remember there was some resistance to Supergun, but now, you know, people seem to be fine with Supergun. But like, how much of it do you think is like our like mentality as far as like, the platform, or the conditions in which we play in? I mean, let's be fair, we're playing a really old game. It's
hmm
pretty niche. And so I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Especially as someone who's both a competitor and a TO.
Okay. So the question is, do I think that we don't have
Like
tournaments
part
because
part of like what's holding the scene back is maybe our um just kind of the stigma that we seem to exhibit towards like ports and other console, stuff like that.
yeah. I think it's I think it's a part of the scene and the culture, and I think
Hmm.
there's truth to it, but I also think it's overblown, and I also think it's a meme.
Yeah.
I think it's all those things.
Yeah.
So I think that the scene is far more willing to accept newer things, right? Because we have a whole host of new players who are leverless players. We have
I mean, that's
our
another
current.
conversation, right?
It is,
Related, but yeah, yeah,
but until then, right now we have non-traditional players
yeah.
making up a large part of this current scene. That's just a fact,
Mhm.
right? The newer generation of players are largely non-traditional. Um, and so we have that. Then our primary platform is still not arcade cabinet because unless you live in one of the few places in the country that have access to it, you're playing online. So you're playing 5K2, which is the port. It's the ROM, but it's not the exact experience for, again, another Pandora's box of issues that we can spend forever talking about. But the point is, we have been playing and accepting Dirt Strike in non-traditional forms for the entirety of its existence. In fact, a majority of players who came, the Daigo generation, right? I think Lance was talking about this. There's different generations, and I've also alluded to it as well. Like at least 5 or more different revivals and generations that have come. The Daigo generation, we all got to start on what? Either Dreamcast or PS2, right? We didn't have boards. We eventually made our way over to boards, but and then there's the the OE generation, and there's so on and so forth. So I think that it's a myth that we tell ourselves that Dirt Strike can only be played on board, and for those of us who are lucky enough to be able to do that consistently, heck, congrats! Like that's the dream. But not everyone can. I remember there's something that Big Bad Wolf said once that has resonated with me, and at times I've agreed with, and at times I've very vehemently disagreed with. He was like, for some of us, online is all that we've got. And so to say that it sucks is to say it's a shit on our experience. And I think that that's kind of like a weird conflation of different ideas and feelings. But ultimately, 5K Dirt Strike is what it is. PS4 Dirt Strike is what it is. The Southeast is lucky enough that they have me, and I'm willing to go everywhere with the boards. At least within a 4 to 5 hour driving radius from Greensboro, North Carolina. And so I can supplement the scenes in my area. But not every scene has that. But New York has boards. Chicago has boards. California has boards. Any other scene that doesn't, like, just do your best, right? Like, I remember when the Scrub Series guys started, right? Hey, start on OE for now. When you guys can afford the board, then do it, right? I always talk about how, North Carolina is separate from. There was not a startup scene. It wasn't. It's like, it's weird. But the Scrub Series guys were a startup scene through and through. Bunch of guys who were homies like, hey, we like this game. It's kind of fucking cool. And then they became part of the larger scene, right? But they started on fucking 360s. And then they all crowdfunded for a board, right? And so that's kind of it. So you just have to find the people who are passionate about it. And if people aren't doing it, if there isn't that guy, if not me, then who? Then that's just the unfortunate reality of the scene that you're in. And until there's that person, that guy, that woman, that individual who's willing to take on that workload, then that's just it. That's just the unfortunate reality of your scene. But for the scenes that have that, like, go celebrate it, right? Like, that's one of my biggest things, one of my biggest motivators, and I'm sure I mentioned this before, was that I grew up within a 30-minute walking distance of Chinatown Fair. I went to middle school within a 10-minute walking distance of Chinatown Fair. When I was getting serious about Dirt Strike, I kept telling myself, oh, I'll go out when I get better at home. And I kept doing that until Chinatown Fair closed. So I went to Chinatown Fair a handful of times, a bunch of times. I played Justin Wong at Chinatown Fair. But I wasn't there every Friday. I wasn't there part of the scene. I wasn't entering all the tournaments. And then I lost that. And then again, when Street Fighter 4 was in its infancy, I didn't go out to fucking next level to get good. I didn't start getting good or start really playing the game until Massachusetts. And then when I came to North Carolina and I had Lost Ark, I was like, I'm not going to give up this opportunity again. I'm not going to give up Chinatown Fair again. And so I became really, really obsessed with having that arcade experience. And so that laid the foundation for the 7 years that have come since, was that I was so desperate to not lose out on an arcade experience that I would drive to Lost Ark an hour every week just to be there, sometimes more, right? And so you need that in your scene to make your scene happen. And I think that the idea that we're holding ourselves back because of our obsession and purist takes on CPS3 is overblown. Super guns are accessible and acceptable. Majority of scenes play on them. People have play on them at home if you don't have a cab. Like, it's not a real argument. Like, it's just Twitter discourse getting crazy. But really, the reality is we all play on fucking super gun. Like, so what? Like,
Yeah, but boards are it's not like boards are cheap.
They're not. But
Especially
like,
now,
play what you can play on, right?
Yeah.
The Japanese don't fucking complain. When they come to America, they played on PS2. They played on fucking super guns. They played on fucking 30th, right? They did it all. So play the game the best you can, get the reps, learn the information, and then when you have access to a board, play it. That's it.
Yeah. And I just kind of think about kind of the 5-year run that Jazzy has, and something that was consistently always a concern was, and this probably applies to other leagues and tournament series, is how much does how much does Jazzy need to cater to the top players? Um, and it's always been, kind of a concern. Like, again, on one hand, we want as many people to play Third Strike, and that's why we allowed 30th, for season one, and we were even more restrictive back in season one because we only allowed one version of 30th, which was, objectively the best version of 30th, which was PS4, and then we had the PS3, and then fast forward season 5, now we're allowing almost any platform but OE, right?
Yeah.
30th
I think
anniversary, hey, if because the idea is, what if there are these people, these kids, or this scene, and they play on Switch, and they hear about something like Jazzy. Hey, we have 30th on our Switch.
yeah.
Let's try to run a tournament, and so, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the basic thinking, but I do understand this need for competitive integrity.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, top players are getting something different out of the league, or expect to get something out of the league that's different from, say, players who are just trying out the game, or
Mhm.
trying to grind, or trying to get better, like yourself.
Yeah.
So it's always been kind of a tightrope, if you will,
Yeah.
right?
I think that Jazzy should cater to the top players, but Jazzy should also cater to the new players, and it
Sure.
should also cater to the middle players, right? Like Jazzy can cater to all of them to varying degrees. Um, I think that it's possible to do so. And also, like, no matter what, Nika KO is gonna body you, whether it's PS2. Right, think about it: PS2, OE, 30th, Fightcade, Cab, Nika. I got 20 on Nika, right? Like, it doesn't fucking matter. So, like, that's kind of how I feel about it. The game is not the game, but it also is. So, like, you'll be all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk a little bit more about some of these specific events that are going on in March. Like we were saying before, super busy March. But let's talk first about the Jazzy Auto Qualifier at
Oh my god,
Arcade
yes.
UFO. It's all
Yep.
going down uh, this Saturday, uh, March 16th. Actually, going to be the last day of Southeast or South by Southwest, the music festival. And so Saturday, March 16th, the Jazzy Auto Qualifier at Arcade UFO. First time ever, Arcade UFO hosting an auto qualifier. They've run ranking events before in their previous location, and also this location this season. And so a lot of really strong Texas players are coming to the event. And shout out to DJ Isco and Katie Alpha, who was on the show last week, for holding it down for the Jazzy Arcade UFO auto qualifier. What are some of the things that you're excited about that event, GK? What are some of the things you're looking forward to?
So much. So as someone who's been obsessively following the season and most of the scenes all season, I think that this is going to be a huge tournament, not only for the UFO guys, right? So first and foremost, the Austin UFO guys have a great opportunity here to shine, to show out, to really represent their scene. And I hope that they do. But also it gives the DFW guys a chance to show what they've been working on, right? And if the Houston guys are going up, it gives them the ability to show what they've been working on if they've been working on anything. So I think as I kind of a litmus test of where Texas is at, particularly DFW, particularly Lance and Ray, who are in the top 5 points earners. And after look at what Ray did in Tempe, right?
Yeah,
Fucking killed it. And Ray could have a repeat performance here. Lance could win the whole thing. That's not, I know everyone likes to give shit to Lance for his play, but Lance is a legitimate contender to win this whole fucking thing, right? And that will change the dynamics of the top 5. So depending on how Lance and Ray do, will change the rankings. Depending on how the Texas at large does, will really, this March is really important. I think for the Jazzy season, because I think everything's going to be settled by the end of March. Who's going to qualify for the most part? What scenes are going to be represented? I think they're going to be mostly in place by the end of March, depending on how points are going. I think April could shake things up. And like I remember last season, the top five was topsy-turvy until the last weekend, right? And when I think Texas Showdown happened or whatever it was.
Well, I hope
Um,
as a viewer that
yeah,
the standings aren't resolved until the end of the season, because that would make for
possibly. My math could be wrong.
a lot
My
more
math could be
dramatic third strike.
For
Yeah.
sure. My math could be completely off, right?
Yeah.
This is just my like when I'm up at 4 a.m. or 2 a.m. thinking
Yeah.
about, okay, where am I going to go next? How am I going to qualify? These are the things that I think about. Um, but like, and we're talking about Texas, but what if somebody shows up randomly from another scene and takes this whole thing?
Yeah.
Just like how Neem showed up to Tempe. So I'm really this weekend I think is a big deal. I'm really excited about the Jazzy auto qualifier in Austin. I think that's going to be the centerpiece. All the big hitters are going to be there. We all love the scenes, and we all love to see what they do. So just to see them throw down is going to be just an amazing experience. And then whoever might be coming from out of state is going to be really add to the fire. So my eyes are going to be glued no matter what. If I'm at a tournament, if I'm playing, I don't care. I'm going to keep a stream on for the UFO tournament because I'm really looking forward to how that shakes out.
And so, the Jazzy Auto Qualifier at Arcade UFO in Austin isn't the only Jazzy ranking event this weekend. There are going to be actually a ton of ranking events this weekend. And so, we actually kick it off in Greensboro. Like you were talking about, 10 Frame Fridays. Shout out to Brandometry and yourself, GK, for holding it down for that event. And so, yeah, tell the viewers a little bit about 10 Frame Fridays and about the Jazzy ranking event in a few days.
Absolutely. So 10 Frame Fridays is the passion project of Brandometry and his team around him. That has included me at various times, has included other people at various times. Right now, the main mover and shakers seem to be Brandometry, Shiburizu of Super Combo GG fame, Curly Angel, and a few others. And so I used to go weekly, but now I go about once a month just because I'm traveling and doing other things. I still try to make sure that Greensboro has a third strike presence. First through this and through another event that got announced today, Warring Triad. Just making sure that Greensboro still has valid third strike representation. So I'm running this event. It's my show. I'm streaming it. I'm doing commentary. I'm doing the whole works for third strike. But also, if you like Street Fighter 6, if you like Tekken 8, if you like any of the anime games that Shibu runs, please come on out. It's a great time. It's a great vibe. The people are so welcoming and always feels like family. Greensboro FGC is probably one of the best communities in all of North Carolina for sure. And then the following day, you can see is Tournament of Thrones 43. That is of the Oak City Esports guys. So kind of when CCR and that old group way, Oak City Esports had already been running their events, Tournament of Thrones, and they were kind of the smaller RDU tournament. But post-COVID, very different scenario. They became the RDU tournament. Hosting something like 70 players every month in a variety of games. They always have a ton of games. Third Strike was kind of the when I helped them launch that series, Third Strike was a very big important part of the tournament and has come and gone through the tournament's lifespan. But last season they culminated some Jazzy events. This season they're culminating some Jazzy events. I'll be there. I think that typically the TO lead for Third Strike is UFO. But he may not be able to make it, so I'll be taking lead duties on Third Strike. So, in addition to bringing my super guns, and Bird Kicks will be bringing his super gun as well. Shout outs to Bird Kicks. I'll also be running the bracket. So, not, slightly different flavor from the night before in Greensboro. A much bigger tournament with more games, bigger space. It's also at a cider brewery, so it's pretty dope. It'll be streamed by Mastermind 6000, longtime Charlotte TO. Good vibes, again, kind of distinct crowd from the Greensboro crowd. There's some crossover, but fairly distinct crowd. If whether you're in Greensboro and Triad, you can make it to Greensboro that night, or if you can make it to RDU the next day. They're two different parts of the state. Feel free to come on by. I'll be there. Please come say hello to me. If you need any help, any tips, anything, I'm there to support.
Awesome. And so I wanted to also touch on another event that's happening this Saturday. And so, by the way, FlannelJack, we're streaming from multiple platforms. We started, it was something that we were testing out last week. And so not only are we streaming from Twitch, but also Instagram and YouTube. And we're also live on Twitter. And I mentioned that because I wanted to talk a little bit about a ranking event that's happening this Saturday in St. Louis, Missouri, called Fallen Garden. And the TO for the Third Strike ranking event at the Fallen Garden tournament is actually none other than Arcade Random Posting. Some of you who are listening on Twitter may know Arcade Random Posting from their Twitter account that tweets, again, random photos of arcades. And so shout outs to Arcade Random Posting for getting this Third Strike event off, in St. Louis. And so, shout outs to Triton Esports, Fallen Garden. It's going to be March 16th, this Saturday. There are going to be some other games too. Blaze Blue, Grand Blue, Exerd, Under Night. And so with Third Strike. And so, it's just really cool that Arcade Random Posting is throwing his hat in and trying to run something for St. Louis. And so, follow Arcade Random Posting if you aren't already. But if you're listening to this podcast, then you probably are. And so, shout outs to Arcade Random Posting.
That's so sick. That's so sick. I've been keeping my eyes on that event. I saw that the players have been slowly creeping up. At first it was 1, now it's 4. I hope that they make the threshold, the 8-player threshold. That'd be really sick for them.
Yeah. Another ranking event that's happening this weekend. We got some Pacific Northwest representation. Shout outs to Neko Dojo, which is a new gaming space hosted by Mustardback. Has some ties to Austin. Some of you may remember that I had Mustardback on a earlier edition of Jazzy Talk, so definitely check out our YouTube channel at Jazzy Circuit. It's just youtube.com/@Jazzy Circuit, and check out all our past episodes of Jazzy Talk. But we got Neko Dojo going down this Saturday. Pacific Northwest players like Versaga and of course Mustardback, Zaffo, the TO for Fight Kingdom. Shout out to Zaffo. It looks like Zaffo will be in attendance. Flex Money, and looking to see some more high-level Third Strike from the Pacific Northwest. I think former Jazzy finalist Versaga took first place at the last one. And so let's see how this event shakes out. And so shout outs to the PNW for keeping Third Strike alive in their neck of the woods. So you were talking about another event in the Southeast, right? Going down on Sunday. Or no, not Sunday. What tournament were you referring to? You said there was another.
So I'm really excited for the Chicago tournament as well. I'm keeping my eye on what's going on out there. I always love watching. I have so much love for the Chicago scene. Period. I love all their players. I've been out there a few times and they've always treated me really well. So I love watching their tournaments, but also because Yoga Brain's been doing so well, I'm really excited for their tournament. It looks like they have 20 attendees so far, which is pretty sick. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen March 17th in Logan Arcade.
And of course, Logan Arcade will be the site of the 4th Jazzy Auto Qualifier this season. The Jazzy Auto Qualifier at Logan. We had a blast last season, and so that's going to go down. There's a reason why there's no ranking event in April. It's because that's going to be the month of the Auto Qualifier at Logan. April 20th. Make plans to be there. And so shout outs to Mr. Part 2 and the entire Third Strike crew at Logan for holding it down in the Midwest. And so looking forward to seeing that Chicago Handshake Series tournament on Sunday. We already talked about the Auto Qualifier a little bit, but I did want to kind of look ahead to next weekend, GK. Because next weekend is also going to be a busy weekend for Third Strike with ranking events in several different states: Georgia, Indianapolis, New York, Kentucky, Texas. And so I wanted to kind of start out by talking about Max Mode. Max Mode, March, I believe it starts March 22nd to 24th. And so shout outs to the Data FGC crew for trying to bring back a signature event to the state. And so, tell us a little bit about Max Mode, GK.
So I know that Marco Data Kraken has been working on this for a long time. It's been a dream of many. You always hear the whispers. Oh, what if Final Round came back? Oh, what if TFC came back? Right? There's always these whispers of different TOs wanting a major or regional here, and Data FGC has finally thrown the hat into the ring and making it happen with Max Mode. I'm really, really excited to be part of the first one. I'm more so excited because it's going to be a Jazzy ranking event. And so, the complaint I often have about Southeastern scenes is that we can't get, more than 16, 20-ish, low 20s players for our brackets. Granted, the Charlotte tournament was an anomaly, right? We hit 49 players on the level of the other auto qualifiers, really. But now we have this kind of new event coming up next week, and registration ends on the 14th. That's in 2 days, guys. Registration ends on the 14th, and it's my understanding that while it sits at S rank right now, we are not far from the XS rank. That means 600 points for first place. And how many points for second? Mutant, do you have that off the top of your head by any chance?
No, I do not.
All right, but it's still a hefty
But hey, I
number of
saw a
points.
clip of NEC. Was that
That
Dirty
was sick.
Llama? Did you see that clip?
Probably. Yeah,
That was
probably.
sick. Shout outs to Dirty Llama, Dudley player.
Yeah. So that's 600 for first, 300 for second,
Yes.
150 for third, guys. We are really close. I think maybe within a couple of people of hitting the 32 player mark. So if you are on the fence, if you're considering it, if you're a maybe, you have 2 days to sign up. We only need a couple more players to hit the XS tier. We should do it. It's always a shame when you're just a couple of players away. So really, if you haven't signed up yet, ATL boys, Georgia boys, consider signing up. Florida boys, if nothing to do that weekend, guys, it's going to be a great time. All the 3S heads from the Southeast are going to be there. At least anybody from kind of my power level, right? Like you have some Optimists, Food Stamps, Executioner, Cryo Wall, GeoJost, Herb Durkin, Troy Boy, myself. There's gonna be a lot of people showing up to this thing. Dirty Llama, of course, because he's the head CO for Third Strike. Guys, if you are considering it, if you're on the fence, if you have some throwaway cash, consider signing up. It's gonna be a good time. We're only a couple of players away from XS tier, so it'll do it. Please do it. Josh Taylor's going. Jimbo says he can't go. Jimbo, I wish you could go. But yeah, guys, please consider it. Registration again ends in 2 days on March 14th. We only need about a couple extra players to hit the XS tier, so please consider it.
Yeah, we got a ton of games going on at max mode. Shout out to all of the TOs that are running some other retro games. I see we got 2X and Vampire Savior and even Ultra Street Fighter 4. And so that's awesome. And like you were saying, its registration ends on March 14th. And so again, notice on the Star GG, no on-site registration. So like as GK said, if you're considering going to max mode, go ahead and get your passes now. Going to be a lot of cool stuff. Looks like there's going to be a 24-hour arcade BYOC section. And so do you know what stream Third Strike's going to be on? Data FGC?
I don't. So they have two streams. They have the Data FGC stream. They also have the +2 block stream. So I'm not quite sure what it's going to be streamed on. It seems like they're kind of waiting to reveal a bunch of information until they have registrations kind of all squared away. So I don't really know what's going to happen. I am mostly in the dark as well as everyone else is. I just
Hey, what
just
I want
want
to
to do well.
point out, GK, is
Mhm.
this venue looks like it's in a pretty prime location. We got a Buffalo Wild Wings, we got an IHOP, we got a Panda
Yep.
Express across the highway, we got a CC's Pizza. I've never had CC's Pizza. I don't know.
Don't.
Okay. Well, I mean, you are from New York, so
Yeah.
I should have known. Why would I have asked that question? But there seems to be a lot of cool stuff. A bubble tea place. There's a BurgerFi. I'm always down for BurgerFi. Panera Bread. So yeah, really cool. And it seems like you can get a 10% discount at the Tai
Yeah.
Chi bubble tea. With your Max Mode pass. So yeah, shout outs to Max Mode. March 22nd to 24th. Got a lot of great games. Great mix of modern games and retro games. And so yeah, as GK said, make sure you register in the next couple days.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be sick. It's gonna be sick. Don't miss out.
Yeah. So if for more information on all of the rest of the ranking events happening this month, just go to jazzycircuit.org. Again, really busy month of March, GK, and so looking forward to watching all the competitive dirt strike in the next few weeks. And so GK, I think we're kind of coming to that point of the show where we're going to wrap things up. But are there any other topics that you wanted to touch on with regards to Jazzy?
Sure. I'm really, I think you said Riz One and you are bringing back ST to Third Strike. I mean, ST to Jazzy. Is that correct? Is ST coming back to some degree?
Oh, I don't know if that's been announced yet,
Okay.
but I think we've had conversations. I don't. I know we had Riz on the show
Yeah.
a few weeks ago. But as you know, did you enter ST
Oh
at the
yeah, I did.
finale? Yeah.
And fucking my friend Deus, so he's a 12 player. Deus got fucking Mao as his teammate, and I was so pissed off. I was so
Deus,
pissed off.
ST Jazzy champion.
Fucking Deus. Fucking Deus.
Who was Deus using? I know I watched the stream, but it was a while ago.
Wait, on ST, I forget who he used.
Yeah.
I never even got to see him play because Mal won every goddamn match for him. Like, so, fucking Deus. Yeah.
So who did you team with? Who did you team with? Who was there?
Who did I team with? I forget who I teamed with. Fuck, I don't even remember. But I had a great time playing it. I'm a big fan of ST.
Yeah.
And if ST can find a home at Jazzy in some way, I would love that.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, GK, because you can register for the Jazzy finale right now. There are tickets now available for Jazzy finale weekend. It's going to take place June 21st to 23rd. And we are bringing back community side tournaments. And so if any of you are interested in running a game, or whether it's Dirt Strike related or not, maybe we'll see ST back. I know that a lot of people had a blast competing in the 2v2 ST tournament at the last finale. Akihabara Arcade is an amazing venue. There are a lot of cabs, and so we would love to have other scenes come by and celebrate your game, especially a game like ST 30th anniversary. Shout outs to again ST community and around the world, just keeping the game alive. And so yeah, definitely look sort of keep your eyes peeled for more news about other community side events at the finale. I mean, what would you like to see, GK, as far as like side events go, whether they're Third Strike related or not?
Yeah, well, I know Synapse last year did Ultra Street Fighter 4. Yeah, which I was one of the players who left Third Strike for 4 and didn't come back until later on. But I have a soft spot for 4. I'm a big fan of it. I don't like 5. I hated it, but I really like 4. So I love to see 4 come back. Love to see ST come back. Last year the 2v2 was fun. Maybe this year's a singles could be fun. Single limb, something like zany and fast that we can enjoy. I don't fucking know, but yeah, I'm pretty excited for that stuff. Something concern I've always had about Jazzy is that there are always these amazing stretch goals in team tournaments, but by the time when we get there, we're all burnt out and tired.
Yeah. Well, remember last finale we had 0 stretch goals. I mean, we had stretch goals like for the belt and stuff, but like this time we kind of took the opposite approach because I don't know if you recall, but like for the season 3 finale, we tried to pack a ton of stretch goals, and then last season we thought, okay, let's do the exact opposite. Let's not do anything, and I think. I don't know, like it seemed like the people on the stream were still entertained. But as far as we were concerned, we were really like, more focused on the experience of the people who were actually there. I thought it was really cool, to have a lot of the official stuff end earlier so that people could just, because why are you at the finale? Why are you at Aki? so that you
Yeah.
could get a taste of what it was like to play in the arcade.
Yeah.
And for the most part, people weren't running tournaments at the arcade. They were just playing casuals. And so we really tried to make casuals a big emphasis at the last finale. And so that meant, reducing the number of stretch goals, replacing them with the side of community side events, so that, the people who could, choose to, so that, people can actually choose to participate in these like extra things, right?
Mhm.
And then if you didn't want to, you just wanted to get in games, you just wanted to talk, drink, have fun, eat, then you could do all of that stuff. And so we were really trying to, kind of push that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I had a great time. I thought that, we had the team tournament, and then we had the random team tournament, which was kind of a little suspicious.
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
But it was a great time. Yeah. I would love to see a bigger emphasis on team tournaments, but it's hard. They go over this a lot in the DFW. I got it. I can't say enough good things about that podcast. I'm constantly listening to it. I've been on kind of a marathon, just listening to all their stuff, catching up. But yeah, I think that it's really hard to get teams going in America, especially for a variety of different reasons. But yeah, I love teams. I want teams to happen. I think it's a good time. Maybe I know in the years past, did you guys tend to do like a Ken 5 or Chun 5 stuff, or like did that ever happen? Do you recall?
We tried doing that last year. Remember, we tried doing those character showcases where it was like 3 Un versus 3 Ken.
Yeah.
And I thought those were pretty entertaining. And again, if anyone wants to see those back, definitely reach out to us or sign up and let us know what your idea is for a side event. Again, it's start.gg/Jazzy3S. You can go ahead and register now. Again, June 21st to 23rd. We were able to get a hotel block at the Origin Hotel right across the street from the venue. Very nice.
That's where I booked. I booked.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the hotel, GK.
Yep. Looks nice. I got the special room rate. I'm there from Thursday to Monday. I can't wait.
Awesome. And of course, shout out to the entire team at Aki, Brandon, the owner, all of the TOs, Ryan, Stone Cold, Ryan Meyer. Again, the entire crew over at Aki. It's going to be a great finale, and we're going to try to make it as hype as it was last year. And so, yeah, definitely check out startgg/Jazzy3S. Consider being a part of the finale this season. And so, yeah, I think we'll go ahead and maybe end it there, GK. But hey, this was a lot of fun. Definitely you should come back, and then we could shill some more events. But any parting words before we get out of here?
Just guys, I know that last season around this time, attendance started to slow down. Participation started to slow down, and we're starting to see that in a lot of the events. The numbers aren't as big as they were in the beginning of the season. I say maintain that excitement and maintain that momentum. There's only a 5-month season, and right. We all want to play Third Strike, and now there's more opportunities to play Third Strike than ever. Yeah. Offline, online, wherever that is. So go to your locals. Go, come to my events. Go to your scenes events. Just go out and play. There's no excuses. We're all getting good. We're all, the level of play in America is better than it's ever been. As far as like a net, average of the skill base. So play Third Strike. If you want to follow me, if you like what I'm doing, you like my ideas. If you like pro wrestling, follow me at FlannelJack FGC on Twitter. That's my personal Twitter. Then TND Gaming FGC on all platforms, whether that's Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, for any official stuff. That's about it. Also, much love to the Southeast Throwdown crew, to Jimbo and Troy and everybody. Please, I have to say this before. I'd be remiss to not. Tomorrow, we're not doing our usual weekly tournament. Tomorrow, instead, the DMV, has a long history in Third Strike with Donka and Exodus and Juna. But there's a new crop of players coming up, and there's a new TO who's really trying to push the DMV tournament scene, kind of revive it for a little bit. So we're going to have a 5v5 tomorrow. Team Carolinas versus Team DMV. Carolinas is myself, Troy Boy, Herb Durkin, Sneak, and Birdkicks versus Team DMV, which is quite an uphill battle. It'll be Guru, Goss, Coffee Owl, Exo, and Donka. So it's gonna be a tough fight for Team Carolinas for sure. But turn in tomorrow for some first of fives on the Southeast Throwdown channel before we move over to Coffee Owl's channel for the 5v5. That's Team Carolinas versus Team DMV tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And before we get out of here, one more time, just want to shill the Jazzy Arcade UFO Auto Qualifier. I wish we had talked about this more, but Texas. I know we kind of touched on it last week with Katie, but Texas has such a rich history in competitive third strike, and it would be really cool to see people make it out to the Arcade UFO Auto Qualifier, especially with the 25th anniversary of Third Strike. And so definitely looking forward to watching the stream. Shout out to, again, DJ Isco and Katie Alpha for running the event. And yeah, tune in. It's going to be on twitch.tv/Venkabot. Thank you, Venkabot, for lending us your channel to bring Third Strike to the masses. And so, again, this Saturday, among some other great events, definitely check out the Jazzy Arcade UFO Auto Qualifier. Also, next weekend, Max Mode. Again, we touched on it earlier in the stream. Shout outs to Data FGC for bringing a signature event back to Georgia. Max Mode, Third Strike's going to be there along with some other modern and retro games. And so definitely consider registering. Signups close in a couple days, March 14th. So get on that. And yeah, so thanks again, GK, for coming on the show. For more info on what's going on in the season, jazzycircuit.org. And so until next time, I'll see y'all later. Take care, everyone.